The birth of the Autobots and Decepticons is one of the most crucial moments in Transformers history. And at the heart of it all is Megatronus Prime, one of the most powerful primes. But what if things had played out differently? What if Megatronus Prime had survived in Transformers 1? How would that have changed the fate of Cybertron and the entire Transformers saga? Let's break it down. In Transformers 1, Megatronus Prime plays a crucial role in shaping Cybertron's destiny. But what if, instead of meeting his demise, he managed to escape? Perhaps he was gravely injured, but his immense power and cunning allowed him to fake his death and retreat into the shadows. Megatronus is believed to have met his end in a tragic yet defining moment for Cybertron's history. But let's say he survived. Whether by sheer resilience, deception, or an unknown backup plan, his existence alone would rewrite Cybertron's destiny. If Megatronus Prime had survived, Cybertron's fate would have taken a drastic turn. With his unmatched power and intellect, he could have altered the course of Cybertronian history forever. Megatronus Prime was once one of the 13 Primes, but his descent into darkness and betrayal earned him the title of the Fallen. Had he survived, he could have seized control of Cybertron himself, possibly overthrowing the other Primes. Without his banishment, the Decepticon ideology might have been solidified much earlier, with a much stronger and more fearsome leader guiding them. Under his command, the Decepticons wouldn't just be a rebellion, they would be the dominant force. Megatronus would enforce order, but at the cost of freedom. Would Cybertron truly be at peace, or would his rule only lead to further destruction? Before diving into this alternate timeline, let's quickly recap who Megatronus Prime really is. Also known as the Fallen, he was one of the original 13 Primes, beings created by Primus himself. However, Megatronus betrayed his brothers and became the first Decepticon, obsessed with power and chaos. But in Transformers 1, we see a younger version of him, before he fully embraces his dark destiny. If he had survived the events of the movie, his influence would be catastrophic. Without the Prime lineage ruling Cybertron, what happens to Optimus Prime and Megatron? Megatron, once an ambitious gladiator who fought for justice before becoming a tyrant, could have been directly mentored by Megatronus. This means instead of simply leading a rebellion, Megatron would have inherited the power and knowledge of the Fallen himself. And what about Orion Pax? Without the Matrix being passed on as it did in the original timeline, Orion might never have become Optimus Prime. Or worse, he could have been wiped out as a threat before even rising. In most timelines, Megatronus Prime is either exiled, imprisoned, or destroyed due to his treachery. But imagine a scenario where he managed to avoid his downfall. Maybe he deceived the other Primes, gaining their trust for longer. Perhaps he found a way to conceal his dark intentions until he was strong enough to challenge the others. This would mean that instead of being cast out, he would have remained in Cybertron's power structure, changing everything. One of the biggest changes would be Megatron's development. Without a doubt, Megatronus Prime surviving would have made him a direct mentor to the future leader of the Decepticons. Instead of Megatron developing his ideology independently or being manipulated by others, he would have learned the dark arts of war and deception from the original traitor. This could make Megatron even more powerful, more ruthless, and possibly even unstoppable. Imagine a Megatron trained by a Prime from the very beginning. Another huge consequence? The Autobots as we know them might never have existed. Orion Pax, who later becomes Optimus Prime, was able to rise because the Autobots needed a leader. But if Megatronus had survived, Cybertron's politics would be different. Megatron wouldn't have had to stage a rebellion. Instead, he might have slowly corrupted Cybertron's ruling system from within, eliminating Optimus before he could ever become Prime. A world without Optimus Prime? That's terrifying to think about. One of the biggest questions is, would Optimus Prime and Megatron have ever risen to power? If Megatronus controlled Cybertron, young Megatron might not have needed to rebel. Instead, he could have been directly trained by Megatronus himself, making him even more powerful and ruthless. Optimus, on the other hand, might never have received the matrix of leadership, or worse. He could have been hunted down before he could rise. If Megatronus Prime had survived and ruled alongside Megatron, the war would have been devastating. In the original timeline, the Decepticons already had an advantage, but they were always missing something, a true Prime on their side. With Megatronus leading them, They would have access to forgotten Cybertronian knowledge, ancient technology, and a level of power that the Autobots simply couldn't match. The war wouldn't just be brutal, it might have been over before it even truly began. Earth plays a crucial role in the Transformers saga, often becoming the battleground where Autobots and Decepticons clash. But in this alternate timeline, Earth might not stand a chance. Megatronus was always interested in harvesting planets, and with his power, humanity would have little hope. The Autobots would struggle to find allies, and instead of the constant back-and-forth battles, the Decepticons might have conquered Earth completely. A dark future indeed. Some might argue that Cybertron would have been stronger under his rule, but at what cost? Would absolute order be worth sacrificing freedom? So, what if Megatronus Prime had survived in Transformers 1? The answer is simple. Cybertron would have become a Decepticon empire. Megatron would be even stronger. Optimus might never have risen, and Earth would fall to Cybertronian domination. The war we know? It wouldn't be a war, it would be a massacre. But thankfully, Megatronus was defeated. Or was he? Could he return in Transformers 1 in some hidden way? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.